What's up guys, Everything Apple Pro here, and in this video I'm going to be talking about the iPhone 5S versus the iPhone 6. Now many of you guys may be in a position where it's time to upgrade and you're asking yourself, is the iPhone 6 worth the extra money between the iPhone 5S? In this video I'm going to clarify that. I'm going to show you guys everything that's different between these devices and whether or not that $100, $200 difference is actually worth it. To begin, the difference is a lot clearer than it was between the 5 and 5S. That was just an incremental, speed upgrade, the usual. But between the 6 and the 5S, there's a lot that's changed, more than just the processor. To begin, the 5S, it's a solid device. It's very easy to hold. It's a phone that's just, you pick it up, you know exactly what's going on, you know what to do with it. And same thing with the 6, but the 5S in its own right is a very capable phone. It's a phone that, it's going to take a long time for it to be obsolete because it still competes with devices like the Galaxy S4. It's just about a device that does everything you need it to do, but it makes me wonder, how much better is the iPhone 6 than the iPhone 5S, which is already really good. The 5S was also a phone that brought in a lot of new technology like Touch ID and the new True Tone Flash, and the 6 just works on that and it improves them. So the iPhone 6 is Apple's first step into the larger phone territory. In an attempt to sway over Android users to use Apple released this larger device, and not only is it going to bring in new customers, it's also going to make the experience better for people that were stuck or limited to a 4-inch display of the iPhone 5S. Apple's always been really good at showing people that you need to upgrade without there actually being a lot to upgrade to. But between the iPhone 5S and the iPhone 6, there's actually so much that's changed, and it's going to take a lot for me to explain it. So probably the most important factor for most people when deciding between these devices is price, or maybe you just have one of these devices and you're wondering whether a full upgrade is going to be worth it. Well, for most people, you're going to be looking at a $100 difference. For $100, the iPhone 6 brings a lot to the table, starting with a larger display. It does have that 4.7-inch display that's both wider and taller than the 4.0-inch found on the iPhone 5S. Pricing between the iPhone 5S and 6 isn't that much different. $100 for some is pocket change, while for others it is a big deal. But Apple kept the price high on the iPhone 5S to encourage people to just go all the way and get the iPhone 6. And there's a $100 size difference in between every memory option on these devices. Even though it only costs Apple around $10 to make, it's kind of outrageous. And remember, it is non-upgradable. So what you buy is what you're stuck with. Apple did away with the 64GB iPhone 5S to encourage people to upgrade to the iPhone 6, in case you were noticing it was missing. Fundamentally, these devices are very similar in design. With the iPhone 6, Apple just took the iPhone 5S, flattened it down, and smoothed the edges. Whereas on the iPhone 5S, it has a blocky design, which is very easy to grasp, and we'll get to the usability in a bit. But the back of the iPhone 5S features glass and aluminium, whereas on the iPhone 6, it's one solid piece of aluminium with those plastic-looking antenna bands dividing it. These devices just look expensive. They're made of very high quality materials, and there's not a bit of plastic to be found on any of the devices. Now the iPhone 6 is larger to make room for that larger display and a larger battery. Also a couple new features thrown in, but pretty much the iPhone 6 is roughly 10 to 15% larger than the iPhone 5S, and for a good reason. It has a beautiful display which is crisper and clearer than the iPhone 5S. Resolution has been upped on the iPhone 6, but the pixel density is exactly the same at 326 pixels, and both of these devices are pretty much unusable in direct sunlight. There's a lot of glare. Unlike an OLED display, this just does not absorb sunlight very well, so it's very unusable in direct sunlight. But both displays will look great once you get under some cover, and this is a display that Apple is bragging about. They say it's the best they've ever put into an iPhone, and it's true because it just looks so much better. The colors are more accurate. It's got a higher contrast ratio, so darker colors look darker. Basically, it just represents the real life colors better. So what's it like actually using these things? Well, the iPhone 5S, it's a comfortable device. You can reach all areas of the screen with your finger, whereas on the iPhone 6, Apple added this feature called reachability, where you double tap the Touch ID sensor and it brings the screen down where you can use it with one hand. The iPhone 6 is a one-handed device, it's just not comfortable as one. Whereas the iPhone 5S, if you use your phone with one hand all the time, it's perfect. Well, both devices are comfortable to hold, but you'll find yourself more afraid holding the iPhone 6 because it is very slippery and the edges are curved, so it does tend to slip out of your hand more than the iPhone 5S would. So let's talk about power. The iPhone 6 is about 25% faster than the iPhone 5S, and if you take a look at these specs, you may be wondering, man, that's not really that impressive. Well, the iPhones have always been good at system optimization, and the new chip in the iPhone 6 is more of an evolutionary upgrade than revolutionary. You know, it only adds 25% power and 50% increase in graphical power. While that is impressive, the iPhone 5S is no slouch. It'll do everything you throw at it. It was a very capable device in 2013, and in 2014, the iPhone 6 just takes it a little bit further. So if you need a lot of power out of your device to power games, hardware-intensive application, then the iPhone 6 is definitely the clear winner here. But if you're just using your device as a day-to-day phone, you don't need to do anything special with it, the iPhone 5S will do almost everything that the iPhone 6 can. And the 6 supports OpenGL 1.2, which is better for gaming. So between the 5S and the 6, the chip is a lot smaller on the iPhone 6 and it's more energy efficient. So, you know, you're only going to notice that increase in power when you're using those applications that really need it. But now I just want to show you guys between these devices which one does boot up faster, and we're going to run a Geekbench to show you just how much, when it comes to numbers, the 6 beats the 5S. And as you guys can see, the 5S is almost going to boot up faster than the 6. And it's almost usable. Let's see. And take note, the 6 does of course have more things to load, but it looks like the 5S is usable at least 5 seconds before the iPhone 6. And there we go, it just booted up. So both of these do run the latest iOS 8 version. 8.1 is coming as well. And let's go ahead and run a couple tests to show you guys the difference between these. And it goes further than just speed. The iPhone 6 has better Wi-Fi with Wi-Fi 802.11 AC, which I'll be showing you in the next test. But for now, let's run this Geekbench. Now, a couple less known things about the iPhone 6. If you do a lot of international traveling, you're going to have a better time with the 6 because it does support 20 LTE bands. That's more than any phone on the market nowadays. You're going to have compatibility with all carriers with their LTE service. So that's very good if you travel, but most people won't even notice a difference unless you do travel a lot. So we're wrapping up the test right now, and as we can see, the numbers do look good on the iPhone 6, but on the iPhone 5S, they're not that much different. It's about a 20 to 25% increase on the 6 versus the 5S. As you guys can see, both have impressive numbers. And like I said, unless you need the extra power, that's not the only factor that you should be deciding on between these devices. So next, let's go ahead and test the Wi-Fi. I did say that the new iPhone 6 supports the new 802.11 AC standard, and it really does make a difference when using home Wi-Fi. I do have the Airport Extreme Tower, which supports this new standard, and it's really nice because I can go off of LTE and use blazing fast internet at home. So let's go ahead and run this test. I'm going to do it one at a time so they don't interfere with each other. So starting off with the iPhone 5S. So results are in, and it looks like we got about 5 megabits and 2.5 upload speed. Now on the 6, wow, I was impressed. There is such a difference between these devices. It's at least 4 to 5 times faster than on the iPhone 5S. Now another cool thing is if you do have Verizon or previously a carrier that didn't support talk and browsing the internet at the same time, the iPhone 6 finally supports it on LTE, and that's something I've been waiting for forever. Thank you, Apple, for bringing that to us with the iPhone 6. As you guys can see, the results are crazy impressive. There is such a difference that this alone for me is a very important factor when deciding between the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 5S. Now for me, whenever I decide between any device, battery life is very important. And you'll have no issue with the iPhone 6. It improves upon the 5S battery by about 10 to 15%, so you'll easily go through a day of heavy battery usage with the iPhone 6 and still have some left over for the very next day. It's fantastic. Both devices are great, but the iPhone 6 is just that much better. And I'd like to add that if your battery ever fully dies, the iPhone 6 will boot up from dead faster by about 2 times than the iPhone 5S. Now the iPhone camera is one area where Apple will always keep improving. It just keeps finding new ways to impress us. The quality has always been great, and with the iPhone 6, Apple takes what it learned with the 5S and adds to it, makes it so much better. While the sensor size is the same, the quality is very different. Focus pixels have been added to the iPhone 6, which means your focus is going to be so much better in darker light and crisper. Unfortunately, the lens sticks out on the iPhone 6 and it can take away from the flush design in the back, and the True Tone flash unit has been redesigned so where both of the LEDs are in one single unit, and it just looks better on the 6. Here I have 1080p at 60 frames per second on the iPhone 6 on the right and 30 frames per second on the left. As you can see, the colors do look a little bit juicier and brighter on the iPhone 6. Also, it does have continuous autofocus, so I can move the device and it'll constantly stay in focus because of that feature. Not only is the standard video better, the actual slow motion on the iPhone 6 is double that of the iPhone 5S, so it's at 240 frames per second, and all I can say is wow. So as you guys can see, there is quite a lot that's different between these devices. The iPhone 6 doesn't so much, bring new features to the table, it just improves upon what the iPhone 5S already has. And when we talk about exclusive stuff to the iPhone 6, it has the new NFC Apple Pay, which will be coming out in the new firmware, and it does have a new and improved Touch ID sensor. So is that extra $100 worth it? Well, if you're a new buyer, absolutely. That extra $100 will get you all of these features, and it's a great decision. Now, if you already have a 5S, I wouldn't be so quick. The 5S is still a very capable device. It can do almost everything that you throw at it, and there's only a little bit in which the 6 is exclusive in terms of features that the 5S doesn't have. So in conclusion, if you're deciding between the 5S or the iPhone 6, definitely go for the 6 if you can afford that extra $100. You get so much bang for your buck. However, if you already have a 5S, I wouldn't upgrade to the 6. There's really not much that's changed, and your 5S can do almost everything that the 6 can. However, that is a different story for the iPhone 5. So up to you guys. I hope I made it clear for you guys with this video. Hopefully this video helps you make that informed decision when buying either the 5S or the iPhone 6. Enjoy your devices, guys. Have a great day. Peace.